Hey everyone, it's me Bailey and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to do my September wrap up, and this is the first wrap up that I have literally done all year. So love that for me. But yeah, so I did end up reading 9 books in the month of September, and I'm just going to be sharing that with you guys and what I ended up reading and kind of a few thoughts and things, I guess, about them. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm probably a little bit rusty, so just bear with me for this video. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the first book that I read in the month of September is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, and this book was literally everything. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I loved it. It was about this girl named Kristen and this guy named Josh, and they meet because their friends are getting ready to get married, and Josh is the best man and Kristen is the maid of honor, and so they meet like that. And it's very good book. Kristen has some problems, and so she tries to force Josh into the friend zone, and it doesn't quite work out like that because they end up just catching feelings for each other. And yeah, it's just a very like heartwarming, I guess, story, and it does deal with some pretty hard topics like infertility and things like that. So if you are not up to reading about that, then I probably would not suggest this book to you, but it is a very good book nonetheless. Next, I read The Bride Test by Helen Hong, and this is the second book in the Kiss Quotient trilogy series thing, and this book is about a guy named Kai who is on the autistic spectrum, and he feels that he has no feelings, and his mother really wants him to get married, so she goes and finds him a bride, and that's where Esme comes in. And she met his mom in a bathroom while she was working. She was the bathroom attendant, and her mom got to talking to her and asked her to marry her son, and basically just takes off from there. I did enjoy this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I did find it enjoyable. It was not my favorite. I did end up liking it a little bit better than The Kiss Quotient because I did end up reading The Kiss Quotient earlier this year, and I just didn't really love it, but I definitely thought that The Bride Test was working a little bit more for me. Next is Life's Too Short, also by Abby Jimenez, and this is the 3rd book in the Friend Zoned trilogy, I guess it would be. And this follows a guy named Adrian and a girl named Vanessa, and Vanessa is a YouTuber and video blogger, and she does travel things because she believes that she has ALS and that she will die before the age of 30 like the rest of the women in her family. And then there's Adrian, who is this big shot lawyer who is a partner at his firm by the age of 29, I believe it was, and he was just this all-around big shot, and they are neighbors. And Vanessa ends up having to randomly take care of her niece, and so Adrian ends up knocking on her door because the baby was crying all night one night, and that's just kind of how their story starts. And I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, and yeah, I really liked it. The next book is The Heart Principle, which is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient series, trilogy, whatever, and this is also by Helen Hong, and this followed Anna and Kwan, and yeah, this is very good. I thought there was going to be doctors involved in it, but when I took a closer look at the cover, I realized that it was not a stethoscope and that it was a motorcycle. So I guess that was my fault for just assuming. but I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. This one did have some really hard topics in it, and yeah, I absolutely hated Anna's family and her sister and her boyfriend at the beginning. His name was Julian. They were literally the most disgusting side characters ever. Literally hated both of them. They absolutely sucked. So yeah, but it was very good. The next one is Survive the Night by Riley Sager, and I gave this 1.5 stars. I literally hated this book. Yeah, I remember listening to it on audio and thinking, literally, what is this? Literally, what is this? And this follows a girl named Charlie who is trying to leave school after her roommate and best friend has been murdered by a serial killer known as the Campus Killer. And so it's taken place in the 90s. So cell phones weren't a thing, and they used ride-shared boards, and she got a ride with this guy named Josh. And then it takes place over 6 hours in the car ride from her college in somewhere back home to Ohio. I think her college was in like Virginia or something. I don't remember. I didn't like the book, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, and there's a lot of movie references in this book because Charlie is like a movie buff, and she sees like movies in her mind and stuff like that. And yeah, I literally hated this book. So it's my first Riley Sager and not a great experience. So unfortunately, take what you will from that. The next book that I ended up reading in September was The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell, and this is the second book in the Last Magician saga. And this book did not give what I wanted it to give. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. This book follows Hart and Esta after the events that happen in The Last Magician, so I can't really go into too much detail about the synopsis of this book, but I do highly recommend reading The Last Magician. Not too sure I recommend continuing on with the series. Not sure if I myself will be continuing on with the series at this point either. But yeah, The Last Magician, 5 out of 5, loved it. This one just didn't go where I was expecting it to go. Next, I was able to read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the first book in the King of Scars duology, which is the 3rd series in the Grishaverse. And I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars as well. This book felt kind of unnecessary to me. I feel like at this point it is getting a little bit tired, but this book follows Nikolai and Zoya 3 years after the events in Shadow and Bone and what happened in that trilogy. And this also follows Nina after, it's 1 year after the events of Six of Crows. And yeah, my girl Nina was struggling in this whole book, bless her. But yeah, and I did feel like the beginning of this was kind of boring and just not really it. I feel like it took at least 150 pages for it to finally start to kind of pick up a little bit. So yeah, take what you will from that. Next, I was able to read Fight or Flight by Samantha Young, and I love this. I gave it 5 stars. It is about this girl, her name is Ava, and this guy named Caleb, and they meet on an airplane. Well, technically they meet in the airport when Caleb steals the first class ticket to the flight that they're on, because they're flying from Arizona to Boston, and something happens to where they can't fly straight from Arizona to Boston, so they have to get a new flight from Arizona to Chicago and then Chicago to Boston, and they end up sitting next to each other in first class on the plane from Arizona to Chicago. And then they end up having a stopover where they have to stay at this hotel, and it's just chaos ensues. It's basically an enemies to lovers, because they are bickering for the most part of this book, and they do end up meeting later after thinking that they'll probably never see each other again after this flight. And I love this. I literally loved it. There was some stuff in here that I just found so relatable to my personal life and things that I experienced, and I loved it. I really resonated with Ava and just absolutely loved this book. I do know that there was some controversy in the comments on Goodreads about a scene that does happen in this, but I personally didn't think that it was terrible. I thought it was fine, but again, that just kind of goes with your beliefs and things that you believe in. So if you want to know more about that, then definitely look at some of the reviews on Goodreads before picking this up. And then finally, the last book that I read in September is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I loved this. It was so fun. It was basically a paranormal romance that had to deal with like monsters, and this girl who is a maid, and she goes to this manor called Rooksgrave when she is about to lose her job at her current establishment that she is at. And this takes place in the Victorian era, and it was just literally so fun. And if you're looking for a quick read in October, I highly suggest, because yeah, I literally haven't stopped thinking about it since I finished it. So it was really good. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, so those are the 9 books that I read in September. I will, I guess, put my stats up. I don't know if I should have done that at the beginning of the video, but I will put my stats up. Let me look and see what they are actually real quick. So like I said, I will have my stats on the screen. So 9 books read. They were all fiction, 5 romance, 4 contemporary, 2 young adult, 2 fantasy, 1 thriller, 1 mystery, and my average star rating was 3.44, and I had 1 1.5, 1 3-star, 2 3.5s, and 4 4 stars. So yeah, those are my stats, and yeah, but that's gonna be it for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to my channel. You don't have to. It would be awesome if you did though. I will have all of my social medias linked down in the description if you want to follow me or be friends, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.